Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Government Spotlight. I'm Don DePero, President and CEO of your Columbus Chamber of Commerce. Today's event is in part especially important to our community's efforts to build a strong and well-trained workforce. Kelly Fuller, our Vice President of Talent and Workforce Development, will tell you that nearly 200,000 of our Columbus region's 2.3 million residents were born outside of the United States. And it's our refugee and immigrant populations who can help sustain our workforce for generations to come. We're going to hear about that and much, much more this morning. Again, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us and offer a special thanks to our sponsor, Spectrum. Now, I would like to bring to you Tamara Howard, Manager of Government Affairs for Charter Communications. Tamara.
Thank you, Don. Good morning, everyone. As Don said, I am Tamara Howard. I am Manager of Government Affairs for Charter Communications. As a longtime partner and supporter of the Columbus Chamber, I am thrilled to be here to kick off this morning's program. New and emerging citizens contributing to a robust business community. Our panelists will discuss ways our public and elected officials can take proactive measures that focus on services that can help Ohio's new and emerging citizen business communities. Our featured business owners and subject matter experts will share their insights and the lessons they've learned that could apply to building stronger pathways to a brighter future for the business community as a whole. Charter Communications is a leading connectivity company and cable operator providing superior broadband, voice, video, and mobile services under the brand name Spectrum. We employ more than 7,200 employees and provide service to more than 1,700 communities right here in Ohio. We understand the importance of connecting businesses to cutting-edge technology to support business growth and development, and we know just how important access to broadband and other key support services help to sustain the local economy. We take great pride for our role building access, providing affordable options, and encouraging adoption by connecting entrepreneurs and leaders to the technology needed to succeed. I now have the pleasure of introducing Madison Whalen, partner with CHW Advisors. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara, and thank you to everyone for joining us this morning. Again, I am Madison Whalen. I am the statewide organizer for Ohio Business for Immigration Solutions. We are the state's first organized effort providing a unified business voice on immigration issues, comprised of nearly 90 chambers of commerce, individual businesses, and various industry trade groups. We are focused on promoting common sense immigration reforms that strengthen Ohio's economy and improve our workforce. The Columbus Chamber of Commerce is a key partner of our bipartisan business coalition, and we welcome all businesses and business organizations to join our efforts as we work to educate and inform local, state, and federal policymakers about the important contributions new and emerging citizens make to our community and to our economy. Please reach out to me directly if you're interested in joining our coalition or learning more. We would love to have you participate. Now, to kick off the program, I would like to introduce our moderator, Sandra Lopez, Legislative Advisor with the City of Columbus. Thank you to Sandra and our panelists for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Madison, and thank you so much, Dawn, Mallory, Des, and everyone for having me this morning. Buenos dias. It is an honor to host this conversation today. I am Sandra Lopez, and I work for Columbus City Council in community engagement, which means a wide range of things. I work directly with residents across the city, specifically Northside neighborhoods. And also as part of my work, I have immigrant, refugees, and Latinos as one of my constituencies that I serve in this role. About a year or so ago, in the middle of the pandemic, we were doing a lot of work and reimagining all the ways in which we had to do our work that was very much an in-person endeavor. And one of the things that I noticed was the city had put out a lot of programs to help small businesses. And when I looked at the list of the businesses that had applied for these fundings, very few were immigrant owned. I myself, I'm from the Dominican Republic. I have lived in Columbus now for 25 years, so this is home to me. So I got curious to know why we were not seeing more of these businesses coming to us for help. So I talked to folks internally and realized that there was a gap in connecting with the small businesses that are immigrant owned. And I remember telling someone, well, there are 5 Dominican grocery stores five owned grocery stores by Dominicans here in Columbus. And they were surprised to hear that most people are. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come pick you up and we're gonna go do a tour. And from that, an actual program was born. We did 2 tours of the west side of Columbus, focused on Latino-owned businesses, and then a tour of the north side, focused on African and Asian-owned businesses. And we took our community partners, including the Columbus Chamber, the Small Business Administration, and others, to see how these businesses operate and who they serve and how they are growing. So with that, I am going to introduce our business owners today. And I will start with Claudia de Leon because she has to travel. Claudia, if you would introduce yourself, let us know about you. How did you get started in the business that you run? Claudia?
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me? Okay, hi guys. Good morning. Buenos dias a todos. My name is Claudia de Leon, and I am co-owner of La Mega Media. We are a media company serving the state of Ohio and Pittsburgh. We have radio stations on FM. We have digital radio stations as well. We've got a print publication called La Mega Nota, which is sort of like a Gazette or a Columbus Alive. We have a digital platforms, and we also put on events, conferences, job fairs, etc. The type of clients, and I'm sorry, Sandra, what did you say the first question was?
Just tell us about yourself and you know, how did you get started in media and radio?
Okay, so I actually came to Ohio for the Ohio State University a few years ago, and I did a couple of degrees there. I went on to Capital Law School, and while I was at Capital Law School, I needed to have a part-time opportunity. And at the time, there was a radio station that had launched a few years ago while I was in college. So the radio station, the first Hispanic radio station in the state of Ohio, launched in 2004 in the state of Ohio. And because there was a growing Hispanic community in the state, but there was not a prominent bilingual educated community, there were opportunities from the very beginning for me to become involved, whether it was in helping with like media kits and design and different aspects related to media. Now, this had nothing to do with my career path. It had nothing to do with what I wanted to do or the reason that I came to Ohio in the first place. But when I entered law school, that business was passed on to another owner operator. And they came to me and said, can you help us manage? Can you help us expand? And I did, and it was supposed to be a part-time job. It was supposed to be something that was just, while I finished law school and while I started in the career path that I wanted. Very quickly, I realized the great need of having education in our community, of having, exposure to our culture, integration into the general market. And something that began as a part-time job eventually became, a career for me. And in 2019, the opportunity arose to purchase the company, which I did. So in 2019, along with my business partner, Roland Medrano, we took over the operations of what was then, a couple of radio stations that were, not really completely integrated as a whole. And we've turned it into what has become La Mega Media today. And it's, you know, our purpose has always been to serve the Hispanic community, but also to be very conscious about, you know, what it means to be in entertainment and how that can, you know, translate the messages that we would like to the community through, you know, whether it's being very selective with what we are saying on air, what we're printing on media, what we are, you know, doing through our digital outlets, and understanding the importance of, you know, this entertainment, tying it into what's very important to us, you know, community integration and education. So that's sort of how, you know, we began with the business. And I've been doing this now for almost 15 years, a business owner for the past 3 years. And since we started with, you know, one radio station in Columbus, Ohio, we expanded into Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, and, you know, we recently launched a radio station. We already had operations, but now launched a radio station in Pittsburgh as well.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Hanad, how about you?
Good morning to you all. Good morning, Sandra, Don, and the rest of the Columbus Chamber. Again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm not sure if I can follow up with what Claudia said there, Sandra. So I'll try my best. How about that?
We are here for all sizes and all journeys.
Absolutely. Well, again, good morning to you all. Just to give you a little bit of my background. Actually, my professional background is in the healthcare. And I've had the pleasure and the honor of being involved in a number of technology startups, including healthcare. But I'm not going to bore you into the details and the minutiae into that, but I want to be able to give you some highlights in terms of my current role, which is being part of the Somali American Chamber of Commerce, probably one of the largest minority-led chambers in Central Ohio. My role there is government relations and public affairs. And Don, you really touched upon the growing diversity of Central Ohio, the rapid growth of immigrant, refugee, descendant new Americans. And I'm really privileged to be able to be part of that community and to really see the evolution of that community. Some of the things you touched upon, Sandra, such as having access to resources for minority-led businesses. This is exactly what we're seeing. What we're working on at the Chamber right now in collaborations with the Columbus Chambers and other stakeholders is how can we move our members and our business members to the next level of growth? How can we ensure, and specifically during the pandemic, the challenges we saw was accessing those financial resources and the lack of it for a number of reasons, namely we call it certification. Again, we're spending a lot of time and resources to ensure that our members have access to those certifications, to those educational tools to really, again, take their business to the next level. Again, we've been very fortunate to work closely with Madison and the OBIS team. We're a great advocate, we're a great member and a partner to that. And I think Columbus has a tremendous amount to offer to the immigrant community in terms of opportunities. I think what we're working on at the Somali American Chamber is how can we bring our members closer to the wider communities? How can we ensure they're fully integrated? How can we ensure that we bring their products and services for consumption to the wider economy? And it's no small task, I'm sure you can appreciate it, but I think we're on the right track and we're very, very humbled and honored to have great partners that are working very closely with us. So that's a little snippet there for Sandra. Feel free to ask questions, I'm happy to add more. And good morning again to you all.
Oh, thank you so much, Hanan. I had one speaker that was having a little bit of trouble, so I'm with her on the phone. I want to invite Lawrence now to tell us our story. And I think Lawrence's business is like one of my favorites in town. I was just there yesterday because I get my hair done next door, and that's how I discover this Brazilian restaurant that I absolutely love. So Lawrence, why don't you tell us about your business and how did you get started here in Columbus?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, everybody, for inviting us. Gosh, this is a really awesome opportunity, and just to hear all you guys talk about businesses and And I just didn't know what's obviously so much organization put into it. And that's probably one of the problems that everybody has, just lack of information. Well, the Brazilian Grill and Bakery is kind of new on the scene. It used to be a Silla Brazil Cafe, and it's been kind of passed down now as immigrants come and go, and own businesses. Sometimes they go back to their countries, and that is the case with our store. So as you can tell, I'm Brazilian, and we cater mostly to Brazilian people. And we have, as of late, been trying to expand that into just like broad population, get people to know more about us, more about our culture, our differences, our food, the things that we do a little bit differently. And it's been really great. Well, I've been here in the business since 2019. So, but it has, like I said, it has been co-owned by other people in the past, and as they came and went back to Brazil or elsewhere for other endeavors. So I'm going to talk about this new phase of the Brazilian grill and bakery, which is what we're doing right now, expanding to what it is now. We've rebranded, we renamed to try to appeal a little bit more to, without losing our essence, our Brazilian culture part of it, that feeling of home to all the Brazilians that live here in Columbus, which is I guess it's reflex of the growth that we've been having. A lot of Brazilian people have migrated from other states, are immigrating to the U.S. and to Columbus specifically. So that's been something a bit even, I guess, something unexpected in a way. And we've been growing ever since. We a restaurant slash store slash like a snack bar, and we do other services as well. And we're really happy to, we're the only Brazilian store restaurant here in the, Brazilian, let's say, real Brazilian, not more catering to if you do come into the store, you'll see the primary language is still Portuguese, and then within the cash, the checkout guys or everywhere in the store. But so we're really happy to see this growth. Our population here in Columbus has been growing, like I said, and it's something that people come in and they usually, wow, this is so cool. I feel like I'm at home. It's like a little part of where I was, or of where I'm from. Even the kids that have been that were born in the States, and they're like, oh, so this is what my parents liked when they were kids. So this is part of like just more than just being a store, being a restaurant. It's a reminder for people that have been here for just a little while, or people that have been here for a number of years, what home is like. We try real hard to keep it as as homemade, or as hitting close to home as possible with everything that we do. We do a number of parties, we do a number of celebrations, and we try to keep that Brazilian culture alive. And it's been really a humbling and exciting experience with having all of these people. Brazil is a huge country, so it would in one store, to cater to the different Brazilian people from like north, south, and the rainforest area, and to the more metropolitan area of southeast of Brazil. So it's very different, and we are a very different type of people, even within our own community. So there's always a learning experience, and it's been like I said, humbling, and really something that's motivating for me, for everybody that works here, and all of our employees. They're all very grateful for everything that we've been experiencing the last couple of years.
Thank you so much. You spoke to something that it's the nostalgia and the longing.
Oh, yeah.
And for me as a Dominican, when someone says, oh, there's a Dominican thing, or now you can get this Dominican item here, like I use Dominican salt and Dominican tomato paste. Dominican soy sauce. What else did I say? Juices. And it's not like you don't have them here. Is that you feel connected to home even though
Absolutely.
you're so far away, and that means so much. I want to now invite Koki Garcia. She just joined in because as a small business owner, she had a couple of things to take care of this morning, and but I'm so grateful that she was able to make time. And Koki, if you tell us about your business, what do you make? How did you get started, or how did your family get started? And we'll take it from there.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for inviting me. And yes, I'm very sorry for joining late. I did have quite a few hiccups here this morning, but we are a manufacturer of tortillas. So we manufacture corn and flour tortillas. We've been here since 2000. My parents started the business. My mother has since passed. She passed in 2016, but my dad and I are still running the business. My brother also works here, so it is a family business. He delivers tortillas and helps out with the maintenance on the machines. But really what we concentrate on is the manufacturing of tortillas. And I know the person before me spoke about, bringing a piece of home here. That's what we want to provide to the community as well. So we make fresh masa so people can make their own tortillas, they can make their own tamales. And we also have a variety of corn tortillas. And that's what we sell the most of. We sell a very, very small percentage of flour tortillas and mostly corn tortillas. So we have a variety of corns, white, yellow, and blue, so that we can, provide the type of tortillas that, different people eat in different parts of Mexico. So we also have a small retail store where we sell the tortillas out of. So people come in here and, we bring out, a little hot tortilla right off the line for them. And, they're able to eat that while we're tending to, whatever it is that they need. But my parents, they lived in Detroit when they started this business. And my mother would come here in a van with some Mexican food products because there weren't very many Mexican food stores. I believe there was just one at the time, or two maybe, here in Columbus, but the Latino population was growing. So she came here to see if this would be a good place for them to put the tortilla factory here. And that's my dad passing by in the back. He's always busy.
Hola, señor Garcia.
Yeah, he just went right through it. Yeah, he's really hard to nail down for anything. But my mom would come here with Mexican products and sell them out of her van. So once she saw that there was, a large community here, they decided that this would be a good place to set a tortilla factory. My dad has always worked in tortilla factories. He has, I believe at this point, over 50 years experience in tortilla factories, putting together machines, taking them apart, selling them, buying them, everything that has to do with running a tortilla factory he has done. So, that's why we're able to do what we do. He started with a $10,000 loan and some old machines that other factories were throwing away, but that's how they paid him for his mechanic work. They would give him old machines and he fixed them. And so he was telling me that the first week that they started, they produced 2 boxes of tortilla and they threw away 1.5. So, it was a really, really small beginning, really slow start, but it picked up really quickly. They would go to stores and just say, hey, can I leave some product here? And if you sell it, pay me. And if you don't, then I'll just take it away. And they found that after that first week that people started asking for the tortillas specifically. And so from then on, it just kept growing and growing. And 22 years later, we're doing really well and, keeping busy.
Awesome. So I want to just quickly go back to Claudia. Claudia, if you're available, and I think you already touched on this a little bit, who is the community that you serve, and do you have an idea of the reach of La Mega? So how many people listen, how many people read the paper? you're now statewide, going now into Pennsylvania. Do you have, who is your client base?
Sure. So we actually have two people or two different groups that we serve when it comes to our client base. As far as our audience is concerned, which I think is, can you hear me okay? Because it's not connected.
Yes, we can hear you, and we see you okay, but we can hear you.
Okay. And I actually might be able to, there we go. So we actually have two different groups that we serve when it comes to, our business. So we have our audience, which we are small FM stations. We don't subscribe. I don't have a way of telling you who listens to us on the dial. But I can tell you, how many people, what our circulation is for print, what our digital reach is, and what our streaming reach is. So when it comes to our digital streaming, we have anywhere from over 100,000 streamers in the Columbus market, around 68,000 in the Cincinnati market, about 40,000 in the Cleveland market, as far as Ohio is concerned. And then our circulation is 45,000 across the state of Ohio for print. And our digital media is, the engagement numbers that we show are anywhere from 2.3 to 4 million, depending on the market. As far as impressions, now, we do our, most of our posts probably average anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 when we do anything on social media or a web banner, etc. So those are the general numbers that I can tell you that we reach. Now, what's interesting to me is that when you look at numbers, showing what the population or the Hispanic population is in Central Ohio, for example, if you look on, just general, you do like a Google search, it'll tell you there's around less than 90,000 Latinos living in Central Ohio. We calculate that number to be closer to about 120. We know that not everybody listens to our station. We know that not everybody will pick up our print publication, and not everybody will be tuned into our digital media. But when you consider the numbers that we have, and you look at the numbers that we are told there are in Central Ohio or across the state of Ohio, it doesn't make sense that those numbers can be accurate. There's got to be a much larger community. And what we have found too, and the reason that we do, on top of the, our different products reach different groups of the population, depending on where you are. So Cleveland is more of a tropical market for us. Columbus is more regional Mexican, and Cleveland is also more regional Mexican, but we serve a lot of the Central American community also. But all of these places also have a lot of people from the Caribbean and South America that we try to serve in other ways, whether it's events or it's through our digital or it's through our print. So that is, who we are speaking to. Our client base is the company that wants to reach that population. So we work closely with mostly brands, whether it's our own ecosystem or smaller ecosystem, trying to, help each other and work with each other. I've worked with, Lawrence's businesses. I've worked with Koki as well, and they've worked with a lot of the people that we serve as well, as far as Hispanic business owners. Something I did mention at the beginning is I'm also president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And through that, we're able to serve our membership in that way. But I think more importantly, what we do as a company is connecting the larger brands to this consumer market, and letting this consumer market that these brands are there in an effort to integrate our communities. All of these speakers have mentioned how when we either migrate or immigrate to Central Ohio, we don't necessarily know what to do or where to go. And the fact that we are able, or somebody is speaking to us and letting us know, hey, this particular bank wants to work with you, or there's a healthcare system out here that is there to serve you, helps our community integrate faster into the general market, which is part of our mission.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hanan, I wonder, Somalis being the largest immigrant group in Central Ohio, Ohio having the second largest Somali population, specifically Columbus, in the country. Who is the Somali business owner? Who is the member of your chamber? You know, what type of businesses are they running? And who do they serve?
Great questions. All are fantastic questions. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
No, absolutely. At a high level, we have a membership of over close to 12,000. And those membership businesses are distributed, through a diverse verticals: logistics, transportation, healthcare, education, finances, technology, which is picking up a pretty fast clip. In terms of, we call it the owners, the Somali American community really kind of reflects, we call it immigrant communities of the past in the US, in terms of, first generations typically have higher business ownership. I would say current internal data we're looking at is about approximately 25% of our population in Central Ohio is an entrepreneur or in the path towards entrepreneur, which is, interesting enough, follows a similar trend to past immigrant population when it comes to business ownerships. So again, why is that? Why is there such a high ownership? Again, looking at internal data, first generation immigrants, they typically struggle in terms of really acclimatizing to the host community, whether it's language, culture, etc. So business ownership is probably the easiest way for them to achieve some financial security and to be able to serve their community, we call it, more effectively. So overall, the population, the business owners, and their customers really align. It's, typically when it comes to, especially in healthcare as well as in education, it's a Somali American, we call it, providing services to Somali Americans. That is changing very quickly. I think what we're seeing is that the businesses that Somali American communities own, it's becoming, we call it, more accessible to the wider communities. We're seeing grocery shops that cater to a lot more diverse communities outside the Somali American experience. We have a couple of TV and radio shows that have been in existence. It's a great platform that the city of Columbus uses in order to disseminate information, most recently the COVID pandemic. But outside of Central Ohio, we get a lot of inbound from other Somali American communities, whether that's in Minneapolis, which is the largest community, whether that's in Seattle, San Diego. They really kind of reach out to us as a point of contact and a point of reference when it comes to business owner or chamber management. Columbus is catching up very, very quickly with our older sister, Minneapolis, when it comes to business ownership. Dare I say, we're probably neck and neck right now. But when it comes to leadership, we are leading the way and they look to us in terms of guidance. Having said that, we are seeing second generation, even third generation really kind of get into, just like their peers across the wider American spectrum, into the technology sphere. So we're seeing a lot more second generations really kind of doing startups, especially startup technology, whether that's media focused, product development. Or those that are interested in that field, what we've done is we work closely with our colleagues at the Columbus Urban League, as well as Sean Grant is right here. He's been very instrumental in pulling together and supporting the Venture Suite, which is a Black and Brown, we call it, led organization that provides coding and technology, we call it, training. And again, we as a chamber have become a conduit for Somali Americans to be able to access those skill sets, those opportunities. The chamber itself is evolving. Really, this is the first time that the chamber has a government, we call it, Relations and Public Affairs office that is, we call it, a community facing. It's a great honor for me to be the first person to lead that operations. But again, it gives us some indication in terms of where the chamber wants to go in really kind of reaching out to the wider community. We really want to be able to unlock the entrepreneur spirit in the Somali American community for the benefit of the wider community. We're seeing that in terms of the engagement we're getting from other stakeholders. And we're very, very, very pleased in terms of how things are panning out. Certainly, there's always growing pains. I'm sure you can appreciate it. But we're on the right track. And again, Columbus and Central Ohio has been very, very conducive for startup, business ownership, business growth. We would like to see that continue and maybe even refine a few things that are where you get to be refined.
And you touch on something that is so true for so many immigrants and families, and it's the side hustle. Often people come here, you get a job, you're working construction, transportation, or whatever it may be, and then you do this other thing on the side, an event that allows maybe to send a little bit of money home or save money to bring your family here to the US, and then that takes over and then becomes the primary source of income for the family. I wanted to ask Lawrence, I know you touched on that a little bit, but if you could briefly tell me, do you have an idea of the size of the Brazilian community here in Central Ohio? You already told us that that's your primary focus and that you're expanding now to others, but do you have an idea of the size of the community?
Sure. So we have an idea. I don't know if specifically if that's if that's as accurate as it's been in another basically we're gonna have the Brazilian consulate come to Columbus in August, for instance. So they don't do that unless there's a population that is going to be served. So itinerary consulate services will be here, which is something that's really cool. Just about 8,000 people, 8,000 Brazilian people live here. And obviously a lot of people come to Columbus from Indiana, Kentucky, from Cleveland, from Cincinnati. But we are in touch with other communities. And even though Cleveland probably has a large number of Brazilian as well, but we do see a lot of them come to Columbus. So we do, as you mentioned, Sandra, we do send we also run a small business money services that we send wires to Brazil. So you can see that a lot of people do that, and through that number, we do have something like about 8,000 people, 8,000 Brazilians.
Amazing. Koki, if you're there, I think I still heard that she had to run. Yes, she is. Hey, so I want to admit that I go to a Dominican store that is next door to Koki and had never, I would see the sign that said tortillas, never thought much of it. I pull up in the parking lot, go to La Bodega, which is next door. And in the process of identifying businesses that I wanted to highlight in the Latino-owned tour, someone says, you should go to Koki's Tortillas. They've been there like 20 some years. And I was like, what? But Koki, who do you serve? And the thing that impressed me about you is how many tortillas you make a day. Yeah. Tell us that number.
Yeah, so we make about, let's see, there's 576 per box, and we make about 400 boxes a day. So over 200,000 tortillas per day on average. Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less, but mostly we sell to other businesses. We are about 99% wholesale. So all of the, I would say we cover about 90% of the taco carts. If you go have a taco and it's that small white taco tortilla, then that's something that we provide. And we service a lot of restaurants, but our big customers are the supermarkets. So people go there to buy their groceries and they take their tortillas home. So that's mostly who we serve, people who are going to eat these tortillas in their home.
If you had told me that we eat 200,000 tortillas a day in Central Ohio, I would have said no way, even though I'm a taco lover myself. But I was blown away by that number. I wonder, and while I have you, what is maybe something that you have learned or a mistake, something that you've done as a business owner that you said like, okay, that was a bad idea and we're not going to do that again. And when you and I were talking about this conversation today, it's easy to highlight the successes and the things that have gone well. But as a business owners, I know that there's a lot of trial and error and this worked and that didn't. Tell us quickly, because we only have a few minutes.
Sure.
what's something that you learned that you said like, yeah, I'm not doing that again?
Yeah. Well, when my parents started the business, as I said before, they started with a very small amount of money. So what they were looking for is for a space to make that would fit the line of tortillas and maybe grow a little bit. However, the space is really small. I tell everybody here right now, I don't know if any of you have played with these puzzles. There's a little square, it's a number 1 through 10, and then there's just one little space and you've got to move everything around to get them into the right place. That's exactly what we do here every second of the day. So yeah, I think that if this had been thought through a little bit more, I think my parents thought this would stay really small all the time. And right now we've more than outgrown our space. So I think that if we could go back, we would look for definitely a much bigger space to start. Yeah, so that's the one thing that I think I would change.
How about you, Lawrence? What is something that you have learned in the last 3 years that you said like, okay, that was a bad idea. Let's not do that again.
I completely agree with Koki too. Just by the way, spaces I think is an issue that we're actually having as well. So I can definitely relate. We work a lot since we are mixed store slash restaurant. We have a lot of areas like for the general public. We don't have a large storage, so purchasing is like it's a 4 time per week event for me, which is logistics is crazy right now, and things are very prices change so much. So construction would be a part that if you could go back a couple of years, maybe a couple of months, and okay, let's rethink. Not everything needs to be out there, but everything needs to be organized in a way that it makes a lot of sense. And definitely would have I think maybe working a little bit closer with towards children. Basically something that we've been seeing like an issue with. Brazilian people have typically a lot of kids, and the families are big. They're still we're on the we normally have more children than on average. So we do see in Brazil, or in Latin Americans, or Latinos, basically, the families are a big deal. So we would definitely try to organize our store towards taking better care of the children. Possibly that's something that I feel that we will be doing in the near future, considering especially having like having more specific areas for the kids to be at here in the restaurant area. So in Brazil, it's very common for you to have like not like an indoor playground, maybe nothing like that, but it's like a cater to kids are
more family oriented.
Yeah, I think I missed that a little bit about back home, and I think that's something that we could have made a better plan on it.
So if it helps, as part of the tour, we visited La Plaza Tapatia on the west side across from the casino, and I think Des can testify to this. Inside the grocery store, they put a section that is focused on birthdays and candies and things like that from Mexico. And that speaks to what you're saying. We're family oriented, we're children centered. And when I was there, a couple of people from Mexico that were in the tour were like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this since I was a child. So there's an example over there if you want to go check it out.
Definitely check it out.
Yes. Claudia, how about you?
Yeah, give me 1 second, Sandra. I'm gonna pull out here. Sure. So I think as a business owner, there's been too many mistakes, right? Over the course of even the last 3 years, and even as just even managing the business. I come from a family of business owners, and I think you hear this all the time, but you don't really put it into practice until you're the one having to do it. And I think one of the mistakes that I find most prominent, at least for us, amongst a gazillion mistakes, is, and it's really probably 2 things, wanting to do everything ourselves and working in the business and not on the business. I think this has been one of the greatest lessons, for me, because I grew up, my grandparents had businesses, my father has a business, and you see how, they have run their business, but it's not as scalable when you do it in that way. And, as you're trying to grow a footprint and as you're trying to grow, what you do, there's a lot of different things, that as a business owner, you say this, I need to do this different. I need to manage this differently. Just regular day-to-day stuff. But, just looking at it big picture, I think for me, particularly, that's the most prominent is just, being able to ask for help, to create a network of support, and to understand that, there's more efficiency in, kind of taking a step back and working on the business and not so much in the business.
Oof, that's incredible. Hanad, we have 1 minute for this question. Are there specific things that maybe you hear from your members that, in looking back, they would say, well, that was a bad idea and I won't do that again?
I think 1 minute doesn't do justice, Sandra, but I'll just give you very, very high level. Multiples from, we call it wrong registration process to, we call it challenges, especially for communities that are involved in remittance. I believe Lawrence talked about the importance of remittance for immigrant communities. And Somali American is no different to that. So when the laws were changed and there were stricter regulations put in place, that affected our community tremendously, and really kind of forced the community to take a step back and look at how best we can comply with the stricter, we call it, regulations that came into place. So again, hindsight is 2020. Things change, the world changes, but we really kind of taken those learnings and looked at not just the financial, we call it, community within the Somali American, but looked at other, we call it, business verticals, healthcare, education, and just wanted to make sure that our members were aware of, we call it, ever-changing regs that come down, and making sure that they don't get caught flat-footed. So again, that was a great learning for us. We're now trying to apply it to across, we call it, different business verticals.
No, that is a great answer. I want to give Des an opportunity to jump in. We had another question, but I want to be mindful of time. And Des has been a good partner to me in this journey. And I so appreciate you and your passion for this work. So I don't know, do you have anything, or you want to invite our participants to ask questions as well?
So at this point in time, Sandra, and again, thank you so much for moderating this, and thank you for the panelists for your input and perspectives and to adding to this fruitful discussion and organic discussion. It's much needed, and I hope that we have more in the future. I know we will, actually, but this is actually a time where we will open it up to our audience to ask questions. However, I'm going to ask the first question, but if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat box, and I will read them off. And if it's geared towards Sandra and or the panelists, we will just ask it through the chat box. But the first thing I wanted to ask is related to the relationship with local government. When it comes to certification, licensing, and so on and so forth, and your dealings with those matters, has that as a business, or this is for all the panelists as well as Sandra, has there been any challenges? And if so, can you maybe highlight some of those challenges, and then also maybe something that could potentially remedy and help those challenges, whether it's communication, whether it's just engagement in general. Again, can you outline some of the issues or some of the challenges that you as a business owner have with the local government?
So I think I will say quickly that what I see as someone who's in between, right? Like I serve this constituency, but also work in government, is often the lack of knowledge. So people have a business, they have an opportunity to grow, they knock down the wall and put shelves and keep growing. And then they find out that they needed a permit to do that. And when they call me now, they are in court, they need to do all these other things. And what we try to do is be more proactive. As part of the tour, I took someone from building and zoning so that he could see how these businesses are growing and what they are doing, so that they can also go back to the department and keep in mind this particular community. So I would say it's ask questions first and pick up the phone and call us so that we can guide you, save you money, save you time, save you stress, because we want to help you and we want to help you thrive. But definitely permits is one of those areas where it's specifically from construction and building and zoning, where I would say before you even call the contractor, call us.
Thank you. Anyone else on the panel want to chime in on that?
I'll have a crack at that, Des. Again, thank you for that great question. Definitely, I think what we're seeing in our chamber and members is that the evolution. So originally businesses begin within the community to serve the community. As the need changes, as business start to grow, as they start to reach out to the wider, we call it neighborhood and communities, then what we're starting to see is, do you have this certification? Have you completed this licensing, and so on and so forth? So that's really where the rubber meets the road right now for our, we call it, members. And this is a great time. I think it's good. It's part of learning. And right now, as a chamber, what we're doing with our community, wider community partners, is to ensure those resources, those learnings are in place for those companies and small businesses to be able to grow. So certainly we're at that stage right now, Des.
Gotcha. Thank you. And got one more question that just kind of came into the chat. How have our panelists done in obtaining traditional banking financing? So bank financing, and is it still difficult for you all to develop a relationship with our banking institutions here in Central Ohio?
Koki, or I know Claudia is.
I can answer to that, Sandra.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
So I was actually very fortunate, when we started the financing process. I first went to Thalia, which a lot of people know in our community, with the SBDC at the time. This was a few years ago. We were able to get an SBA loan, just for reference. And, that's how I came into a relationship with my current business partner. I feel like in our particular situation, we were in a way lucky, but also we were purchasing an existing business. Speaking from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and our membership, I do think that there's still a lot of challenges when it comes to getting financing. The majority of them being either lack of education on either side, whether it's on the institution side or on preparation on behalf of our members. So I think that there's still a lot of opportunity there for business owners. And, I am glad that we went through the process, because I feel like I learned a lot and am able to help our membership more now, understanding the process and understanding how tedious it can be as well, than it has been for some of the members that we've worked with through the Hispanic Chamber.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't have any other questions in the chat box, but I do have one question, and this is my last question. And this is for all of the panelists. From a community and cultural standpoint, how important is it to you all's respective community from a cultural and community standpoint? How has that contributed to the success of you all's businesses? The camaraderie, the togetherness, all of that. Can you express or outline how important it is for community engagement and you all's impact to the community, and how that has contributed to the success of your respective businesses?
Try to answer that, being the Oh, if I did understand the question, there's I'd say, as a community, are you talking about our minority community, or you mean the broader community of Columbus?
Your minority community.
So kind of this is our store is kind of like a beacon of information for people. A lot of Brazilian people, they come, they're not, Brazil doesn't have the same immigration I'm going to say privilege, which is not the right word, just for the lack of a better word, considering Brazil has different types of situations going on right now. But we see a lot of people come in from Brazil and a little bit lost on what they chasing after that American dream. They do come in, and this is kind of like a beacon of like, oh, so how do I simple things like how do I get a phone? How can I get a phone line? How could you help me apply to live somewhere? So this is a place where a lot of people like, and you see this not with from the perspective as the point of view as a business or a business owner. It's more between two people having a coffee, sitting down at breakfast. They're like, hey, why don't you call this guy? Hey, why don't you go to this dealership? They can help you find a car that's within your budget. And this is kind of like something that I'm always proud of, as having my family immigrated to the U.S. in '96. So it's been a while. So but at that time, we lived down in Florida. There was a total of two Brazilian people, me and my brother. And now you're able to ask for help and see and kind of feed off everybody's experiences. When I see all of these guys moving up to the States and having a lot of information available, that's something that so a lot of people come in. This is kind of like just it's a beacon of hope. It is a little lighthouse that guides them. Look, maybe you need help with something. A lot of people donating stuff, and here, we had a couple of back in the winter, we were able to get a lot of folks donate a lot of winter clothes, or some people coming in to the States. So I thought it was an amazing job by our own community, and being a smaller community, I was very proud of that. And we had a real nice showing to just hand out all of the free goodies that we were able to muster up.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you so much, Lawrence, for that answer. That's exactly what I was looking for as it relates to just outlining, the communal, relationship that you all have with as your businesses have with the respective community. So thank you for that. But we are going to conclude today. And so in closing, I'm going to read our script here. Thank you to our moderator and panelists for their knowledge and their participation in this morning's Government Spotlight program. If you enjoyed today's program and would like to revisit the conversation at a later date, be sure to keep an eye out on your email. You should receive a link, I believe, to this recorded program within the next 24 hours. On behalf of the Columbus Chamber, we want to thank you all for supporting our Government Spotlight series. We look forward to providing relevant and insightful programming for you in the future. Please be sure to visit the Columbus Chamber's website at columbus.org/events for more events like this in the future. We hope to see you all again soon. Thank you so much for you all and our panelists and our moderator. Sandra, you did an awesome job. Panelists, you all did amazing. And thank you all for your time, certainly.